My maternal grandmother was a witch, or so the villagers claimed. They said she cast spells to make them pregnant. She caused their hay bales to spontaneously ignite. She spoiled their butter. Grandmother would have none of it. She did not cast spells, she would scoff in contempt of her ignorant neighbours. She cast hoodoos. Grandmother only augmented her reputation by keeping a malformed runt of a cat called Cesspit. Familiar or not, never once did Cesspit catch a mouse or bird. His deformed nose had afforded him an interminable snore. Grandmother also kept a big black crow called Bird, who slept balanced on a tea towel rack in the kitchen. He spent his mornings perched in the lowest branches of the walnut tree, from which his tiny eyes would follow her every movement through the windows of the centuries-old cottage. Bird was always watching, always plotting. Bird would accompany Grandmother on afternoon errands, riding through the village on her bicycle handlebars, head down, wings outstretched, chuckling at the pedal-borne breeze between his quills. Only if he spied a queue of prim-prinked ladies at the bus stop would he free his grip to molest their shopping and tangle their hair. Back at home, Bird would terrorise the cat, tossing Cesspit's fishy biscuits from their saucer until Grandmother was forced to chase him from the scullery. In retribution for such chiding, Bird would pluck the inkwell from its stand to stamp devil's pitchforks in Parker blue across bureaus and blotters. He would nibble through the button thread of every dress and blouse on the era until none retained the decency of fastenings. He would steal her keys and safety pins, the Morello cherries, sultanas, and milk chocolates. He would hoard muscovado beneath the doormat and gobble custard so hot that he habitually spewed bright yellow splatters across curtains and visitors. And when at breakfast Grandmother's back was turned for but a second, sausages would vanish from the pan, rashers from the grill. It would take days for the meaty morsels to reappear, found stuffed behind the cushions of the sofa, poked behind the settle in the hall. The day the grumpy next-door neighbour saw fit to shoot Bird dead for removing the pegs from his wife's washing line, dropping every Lux-brightened garment to the ground, his barn went up in flames. We never knew about his butter. When my father's managerial posting with a major multinational took my parents to a new life in Munich, I stayed on at school and Grandmother was assigned to be my guardian. Her joy at this new role was such that I could never once admit the cruel regime of classroom violence and playground bullying that I daily endured. For liberating frogs from the biology lab to a life of waterweed, spawn and heron, I was punished with the cane across bare buttocks and a slow month of solitary calculus in an unheated stockroom. For suggesting in divinity to the very reverend master that the plagues of Egypt may have been little more than Hebrew hype, I had homework and head flushed down the toilet by the committee of the Junior Christian Fellowship. And when I was found by a prefect with a Windy Miller toothbrush and a secret store of OXO stock cubes in my bedside locker, I was held down behind the refectory and forced to swallow dandelions until I was sick. School ever remained both mystifying and friendless, an inexplicable game in which I felt I played no part. It could not have helped that, due to my noisy nightmares, I had been ejected from the dorms to be placed in the annex, where I was expected to sleep amongst a dysfunctional set of sleepwalkers and bedwetters, all of whom dedicated their nighttime reading to Günter Grass, Kerouac, or Kafka. The label earned of outcast may have further explained the regular defacement of my textbooks and the stealing of my tuck, the daily kicking of shins and toe-crushing stamps, the pulling down of trousers and Chinese burns. My annual reprieve from term-time brutality was the Blyton-worthy summers spent with my grandmother in the depths of Sussex. There she called me Johnny Sparrow and taught me to treasure the poetry of a Bengali named Tagore, to find in the fields dropwort, trefoil and rampion, to squeeze sap from a bluebell for the mending of books, to nurture caterpillars gathered from lace-leafed cabbages and tadpoles from the murk of Pigwood Pond. We would climb abandoned windmills perched high upon the downs, lie amongst buttercup and cowpat to let yearlings lick our naked toes, string seagull skull necklaces on Climping Beach, and pick bones from owl pellets to be glued into fantastical beasts. We would dance to scratchy Schubert on the gramophone, a tea towel in each hand for self-expression. Run like the clappers and vault farm gates to rehearse our flight from gore-minded bulls. Picnic by the Arun on wild garlic and cheddar cheese, bloater paste and granary crusts. I will be the waves and you will be a strange shore, she would recite from a favourite volume printed in Calcutta before the war. I shall roll on and on and on, and break upon your lap with laughter, as I dozed amongst Daisy and Speedwell, and no one in the world will know where we both are. The highlight of each summer, however, was the hours of breathless wonder spent together in Potter's Museum of Curiosities. Shared shudders of delight at two-faced pigs in pickling jars and four-legged bantams stuffed with sawdust, rabbits with tusks and mummified cats, kittens at a tea party and toads on a seesaw, a hanged man's finger and a shrunken head, which grandmother insisted looked just like her cousin Fresden in a fit. Grandmother was tender, funny, and deliciously irreverent. She would spontaneously compose rude rhymes about the vicar. Through the lich with his twitch and perpetual itch, he grins through his hymns till he gives himself stitch. She would teach me new card games called Klabberjas and Hosen runter, then change the rules with every hand to ensure she won the promised humbug. She would hide a lump of sunlight soap or a dead crane fly from the windowsill in her scones, just to see how priggish parish callers would respond. She would find inventive ways to slip the word pea into polite conversation, then shake with barely contained laughter in her secret triumph. I adored my grandmother. She, in turn, made it clear that she adored me. If further evidence of her affection were required, on my 12th birthday, she presented me with a bottle of biker's leather oil and a stuffed crocodile on which to apply it.